topic for today is about life skills for children and young adults with disabilities. Now, here's a question that is thrown open to everybody, our audience, and of course, our three speakers. So, what is disability? I'd like you to use the chat box and just put down a line or two about what each one of you thinks is disability. And while you are doing that, I would also like our three speakers for the day to respond. And I'm going to ask Noni to please first start. What, in your experience, Noni, would you see as a disability?
Thank you. Thank you to all of you all to have me on today's discussion. I'm always happy, and whenever Maya invites me, I say yes without batting an eyelid, because I feel it's not an opportunity for me to speak, but an opportunity for me to hear and learn from all of you all. So thank you. Coming to the question, I feel what is disability? It's a perspective. I would look at the individual with disability as one who has to face, override, and cope with his own challenges or her challenges. They are disabled, I would say, by barriers.
Thank you so much, Noni. Sajni? Sajni, you're on mute. You have to unmute yourself. Also, Timira.
Thank you for having me here. And for me, disability is a natural part of life for all people. Like for me, I cannot read without my glasses. So that is a disability by itself. Sometimes I feel that disability is in our eyes and the way we look at people in those eyes. Yeah.
Thank you. Timira? Yeah.
Hello, everyone, and thank you for having me here. We all know what disability is. We have a Persons with Disability Act to define it for us, but I guess this question comes from what our idea of disability is. For me, disability, I think, is an opportunity to remind ourselves, especially able-bodied individuals, to see differently, to see possibilities where there's seen that there are none. For me, that is disability.
Oh. Thank you very much. Munilla, could you please read out a few of the impressions from chat?
Yeah, well, that there isn't much coming from the chat yet. We have one wonderful person, Ambika, saying that disabilities means people who have special abilities. We have Pallavi saying disability is the diversity that exists around us, but we don't see it in schools or colleges or offices since there's a lack of access. There is one more person, Shiji, who says a condition of a person not able to express their abilities. Yeah, so far this is all that we have. But people, you can keep writing in. Yeah.
Yes, keep writing, and Munilla will certainly pick, when the occasion arises, something to respond from the chat. Thank you so much, three of you. I think it is actually a combination of all that you say, seeing special opportunities, nothing terribly or radically different from us. But perhaps it is also about, as somebody said in the chat, it is about a certain constraint, definitely, in how you respond, how you react, and possibly in the way in which you participate in activities. And this is what the challenge for all practitioners and educators becomes. So my first question for today is actually for Noni. Noni, the question is for you. Now, you started Akshar 25 years ago, and in the experience that you have had over the years, what are the insights that you have gained about the daily lives of children with disabilities, children and young adults with disabilities, the challenges? What do you see as, something that they face on a daily basis?
I'm going to first switch from using the word disability to what we've started commonly saying, differently abled. I want that to be, the foundation on which I'm going to kind of build on what their lives are Just like you sow seeds and you water them and then nurture them and they grow. Whether it's a mainstream child or a child with disability, they're first children and they all have their own abilities. So when we call it differently abled. So the startup for making them their life, their daily life, what it's going to become, is how we lay the foundations. I just looked at myself as a driver, a parent who has a child who is a passenger who has to reach a destination. So if I have decided within myself that this child has to reach a destination, the child who is differently abled, you start laying it from the very beginning. So when I look at the daily life of any child, I first go back and I say, today, what is he or she doing? And what has made him happy or sad? Or not being able to do what he or she is capable of doing is obviously there has been some gap. So a very important factor with children is time, is focus, is mainstream children or quote unquote normal children, they go with their milestones slower, faster, whatever. But with them, it has to be a dedicated, committed effort to make their life and looking where is their ability and to make them master those skills. If we are fine, then I can give you a bunch of examples of children who are differently able, who are happy children because they have been given the right nurturing. Their skills have been mastered. They've got a purpose of getting up in the morning and saying, okay, today I've got a day for work, or I've got a day to school, or it could be a child who gets up and says, Mama, or just sits and does nothing because nothing has been offered to the child. The child has not been nurtured. So my thing is, when I look at this, so many children in my 26 years of Akshar, and so many children that have passed out today, they're young adults. Many are at home, though they've had the skills built in them during the school, but they've gone home and it hasn't been developed further. So today, I would really say that besides its parent education, you talk about community also, but it's back to parents, how they nurture the daily lives of a child, because they are really dependent on us. And if we can build it for them, they can be very happy children. One thing is that, yes, they do feel isolated, buddies, friends. That's a very important thing. Besides their skills in mastery, they've got to have buddies and friends, which is so important. So that is another thing that we need to really keep building so that
Thank
they
you,
can
Noni.
thrive.
I
Thank
think
you.
that was so heartfelt, and actually that's what all of us need, and definitely these children to a much greater degree, I think. Thank you. Would you like to add on to this, Timira?
Well, for me, I think when I look at the daily lives of young people with disabilities, I really wonder about the battle that they have to fight to navigate the city, both infrastructurally as well as socially. And I'd really like to work really hard towards changing the society's perception of disability, how they perceive disability, because the lack of infrastructure is just a reflection of the very hard fact that people with disability do not exist. They're a non-entity because they don't exist in our mind when we are designing, when we are planning, when we are thinking, right? So I feel like that is a challenge which is external, and it's really unfortunate that we can't lay the ground for them to work their challenges through.
Really true. Actually, you notice this a lot when you go around and you think, how could we be so insensitive? Isn't it? Sajni.
Yeah, for us at Baldwin's, we send our students to a bakery to learn. So when they go there, initially when they went there, the people over there made fun of them, and they made signs like, it's like this. But then when they came back and told me that this is what this man said, so I asked them, is it okay? Did you like it? Well, did you tell them your name? So they said, no, they didn't ask my name. So then we taught them to be self-advocates for themselves. So we told them, you go tell them what your name is, ask them what their name is, introduce yourself, and then you talk to them. And after which, the next class when they went to, they became great friends. So they were actually educating the people about who they are.
Very nice. It sort of ties in with what everybody is saying. It's about recognition. It's about nurturing, being happy, having an identity, and I think, and access to things that make us happy. Thank you. Sanjani, I know that you have worked very closely with children, and you have developed programs for the children, and on a day-to-day basis, you try, to get them to be independent and have a good sense of self. My question is, what role do you think life skills education plays in the life of a child or a young person with disabilities? And why is it necessary to equip them with these skills?
Yes, life skills enable people with disabilities. So we start off with planning an IEP, an individualized education plan at school. It is done with when the children come for admission, we observe them, and then after that we call the parents, the teachers, the siblings, and whoever is interested in the child. Then we sit together and we plan an individualized education plan. That is the curriculum that we follow. And that involves self-help skills, behavior modification, social skills, and so many other skills. And with that, we train the children in the class. So when most of the time, what we see in school, the parents miss out on. So we teach them basically life skills. So while we're doing this, we are also teaching them how to cross the road, how to do shopping, how to work with money, how to deal with money, how to interact. Communication is the key. We teach them how to communicate with each other. Sometimes it is verbal communication, sometimes it's non-verbal communication. Then we teach them how to, and we also learn from them. The children tell us what they really need. So that is an insight to us, and then we work on that. We have learned that they can work together in an environment where are different children with different abilities. So that is working together as a team. Then we have the other most important thing is self-help skills. Because when you have self-help skills, when they can take care of themselves, they are potty trained, then as the years go by, they gain this confidence. Then that leads into communication, which is important, because if you're able to communicate your needs and your desires and then with the others, so they'll pave a path for you. Then we also work on the social skills where they are able to work together as a team. So this helps in later life when we try and find job opportunities for them. Yeah. So all these. Yeah.
Actually, there's a nice comment here from Pallavi. She says, I think it's important to mention which disability we are talking about, because the needs and life skills would be widely different for different abilities. Yes, that of course. And I think that's what Sanjani also had in mind when she was talking about individualized programs for children, keeping in mind their abilities. Noni and Timira, quick comments on this, please.
Well, it all has been said. There's a baseline, like you say, on your life skills, like Dee said. So if that is maintained, then after that, for every child with a different disability, it's different. For an autistic child, it's different. But self-help skills in all this is for everybody. So what Rajni said is something which is for everybody. And then, of course, you modify as per the disability. IEPs.
The only thing I think I would like to add, because Sajini really gave us a comprehensive idea, is that I feel like life skills, all that Sajini said, is for all of us. It's for all
Yes.
children. It's for regular education and schools. I can make a 10-year plan curriculum based just on these life skills that we're talking about. But what is interesting for us to all think about is that a 6-year-old who have parents who are daily wage earners, they know how to clean their vessels, wash clothes, and make poha for breakfast before going to school. While the same 6-year-old living in a skyscraper is not allowed to even touch a knife and go close to fire. They don't even know how to bathe themselves, let alone wash something else. So, the big question is then, do you see how life skill training has the power to make education equitable? Because that is something that we need to really think about. That life skills has the power to bring equity in education, which doesn't exist, unfortunately, today.
I think that's a lovely observation you made just now, and we have seen it in reflections from children going to a mainstream school. They go on little projects and come back, and I was very surprised to see a child in class 3 say something, not in such a sophisticated way as you said it, but something quite close to it, how we don't even know how to do what the village children do. And it was with a sense of they weren't happy when they said this. So I think that's a lovely comment. What life skills actually, how it should be part of everybody's life. And Timira, you come from a background of art-based therapy, and perhaps you could answer this question with that experience. I often think about this actually. What do you think are the life skills that significant adults and caregivers need to have or to develop in order to work with differently abled children? We don't come with these things. So what
Yeah.
do we need to develop?
So when you all invited me for the panel, we were also given the glossary to go through, and I saw the 52 skills, and I said all of them. Because we often, I work primarily with teachers and adults in education. We always train adults and teachers to train the children. Like, oh, you need to learn this so that the children learn life skills. But often I see that the teachers and adults themselves, parents themselves, are very under equipped with these same life skills for themselves. They're great at training you to be able to do certain things, but as a child or as a young person. But am I somebody who is able to be socially aware? Am I able to manage myself? These are all life skills: self-management, self-compassion, building resilience, social awareness, problem solving, coping with stress, emotional management, critical thinking, creative thinking, all of this. I'm really good as a trainer to be able to work with children and young people. But in my life, when there's a crisis, am I able to use these life skills for myself? So I think a little bit of attention to institutions, because I know that there are lots of people here who have joined in, who are heads of institutions, who are part of large institutions and organizations. Perhaps we need to think about what kind of training we're doing with our educators, our parents, so that we build not only frameworks where they can teach life skills to others, but they also experience and understand how certain life skills are important for themselves first. We're all the time, we're upping our life skills, right? Like today, my 3-year-old nephew can work the smart TV much better than me. So there is a deficit there at my end. So if we understand the idea of life skills as an ever evolving, game, then can we then look at training in that way, where they first train for themselves before, training to be able to work with others. So the ones I said were, I think, really important skills that educators should really think to work towards.
And how would you build that into your training?
I mean, the arts, really the arts, because the arts allows so much room for experience. So when you experience something in a creative way, you're thinking, you're problem solving in ways which are not default. We're always otherwise going to default ways of problem solving, conflict resolution, stress management, oh, like, oh, you're hyper, breathe. Of course I can't breathe when I'm hyper, so can I pay attention before I reach a point of panic, right? So can I train my body to pick up the nervous system signals before I get to a point where I have no control over my emotions, right? So through the arts, through a lot of body work, through a lot of like singing and dancing and laughing, we explore, experience, and learn these ways.
Thank you. That was a lovely answer. Noni, can you please add on to this?
Yeah, Nandini, I just feel that we need to reach out. If we are a community of supposing parents who have got children with disability, we don't have all the answers. So there should be no, one should just reach out and ask, because can be difficult when you do have a child who's differently abled, and you get, as a parent, you get that many hours when the child is in school, and then the child is back home, and there is so much more. And it's first, like, the usual saying that they say is that when you're on a flight, put your mask on first and then leave. I feel for parents, as a mother, as parents, you need to have your identity, your happiness before you can look after your child with disability. And you bring up the child also happily. There has to that happiness quotient, and that totally, I feel, always learning from others and being with others who make you happy is very important. But if you're going to go from one negative person to another, you're not going to bring that home, and that child is not going to be happy either. So I think build on your own self as a parent first, and then nurture your child.
Do things that make you happy. Look outside of yourself.
Yeah.
I really think so. Do you have anything in your school like this, Noni, to bring teachers together, to just, parents?
Yes, we have something. We've all heard of Jenny Mosley's Circle Time, which Maya came and conducted in our school. It's a circle time where we have parents all in a circle, and everybody speaks, and they speak about what they feel and how they're not managing. And then we all help each other. So there are many, many groups, and so do we teachers, especially with mainstream teachers, or even for that matter with special educators. They don't have all the answers, and nor do mainstream. So we have a lot of circle times where we'd all share happiness, joys, sadness, and plenty with parents, just to give them that little upbeat of daily living with their children. Yeah.
Very nice. I think lots for us to think about. Sanjani, what would the a significant adult have to develop? What life skills?
I think we have to, first of all, accept them and give them the confidence. And once we trust the children with whatever we know, and instead of watching them, like, we give them an activity, and when we teach them, they are going about their work. And then when they look up at us constantly and say, am I doing the right thing? So then we are not giving them that confidence. Once we trust them and just let them be, don't watch them like a hawk. Just move away, and then look at them when they make a mistake or an error. Then you go and correct them. Let's not be judgmental. We correct that error and then help them move forward, is what I think. And then when they also, the advantage is also when they commute with the regular school children, they learn a lot. The children learn a lot from them. So, and then they come and imitate. So, and they do communicate what is happening.
So then the adults and the caregivers have to be able to trust. They have to be confident that there's great joy from sharing and being with other children. And the other children also have a lot to learn about, how you have to accommodate people with so many different needs, as we would in a family, I'm sure. So thanks a lot. Now for this, I need a sort of quick response from the three of you. As you know, this, our discussion today is sort of connected with the glossary of life skills that Teacher Foundation has come up with for the Life Skills Collaborative. And you have all gone through this. Now, based on the work that you do and the different backgrounds that the three of you have, can each of you pick one or two life skills from your point of view, from that glossary, that you think is absolutely essential while working with differently abled children? Can I ask Timira to go, please, first?
So I was working for many, many years in a school which was an ICSE school, and it was an inclusive school. So we had children with disabilities as part of the regular classroom. And I thought of a little boy who was obviously on the spectrum. He was very young. He was only 4 or 5 years old, who had zero empathy. Like he didn't understand if somebody else got hurt and they started bleeding, what you're supposed to do. So he would just stand and stare at her. And I remember how we, in the language that he understood, made him understand that this person is in pain. And it would be nice to say sorry because you pushed her and that's why she fell. And then maybe just hold her hand and take her to the nurse. So why I'm saying is because when I saw the glossary, I saw perspective taking as a life skill.
Yes.
And I really feel that it was so beautiful because that child really didn't, that was his condition. He didn't really feel, he didn't know how to respond at all to that, to a situation where somebody else is hurt because of them, or even hurt because they are hurt. Like he didn't have empathy as a natural instinct. But because we could work with this life skill with him, he was socially very loved and accepted in his class. And that really helped him overcome this big hurdle, which otherwise would alienate him and put him in the margins. Because social behavior is something that at a very young age, we know that this is the way to be, right? And if somebody is not playing by those rules, you're out. So at a very young age, if we use perspective taking as a life skill, I think it's very empowering, especially for children who have social engagement anxiety issues. So that's my choice.
So build it in different ways into observe, I suppose, the various times. Like this was a lovely example that you gave, So building it in different ways, just so that you start learning it. First of all, perhaps in a routine and artificial way, but later it becomes part of your response.
Yeah,
Maybe
but also in an everyday basis on things
on
that
an
are
everyday basis.
Thank
Thank you. Noni, what would you choose?
Actually, I chose 3, so I'll quickly say those 3.
Actually, you have time, so please don't rush. Tell us about the 3. You're on mute, Noni. You have to unmute yourself. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. I felt, children who are differently abled, I'm concentrating on the differently abled. For them, when they say children who are more able, there is some kind of underconfidence in them. And I feel we need to build that self-esteem in them that they have got worth to. They also have got a lot in them. Not everybody can have the skills that they have. So even the able person, like I think Nanjini said, or somebody, that they also have, she said, I have a thing with specs. That's what you were talking about.
That's what Sachini said, yeah.
Self-esteem, communication, I feel, is so important to express ourselves and express our needs and fears. Because, you just can't stay darawa kind of thing. You got to express it. And the self-management of your emotions, that when you do, again, you find ways of saying, I feel fear and, too much of obedience and saying yes, yes is not what we want. They need to express themselves and say sometimes no, no. And just a very, very simple, I'm just giving an example of a parent who got up in the morning, who had a flight to take on a particular day, but had to prepone. And the child with disability was woken up in the morning and said, come on, pack up, we are leaving. And the child said, but why? We've got another 2 days of holiday. No, there's an emergency, but no, I'm not going to get out of bed. And you could see that dialogue between the parent and the child. The parent has to rush back because of some reason. The child is saying, I can't go back alone, but you are making me go back. And finally, the mother got the way and got the child. And But she had built it in the child that when he came back, he said, okay. When he came back and he said, you made me unhappy. You took 2 days away from my holiday. And it stays with that mother. Yes, you got to work around things. You just can't pick up a child just because he's got a disability or different ability and say, it goes, nahi hoga. Sorry, nahi ja sakte. No. So I feel all these are very sensitive things that we always have to keep our,
Antennae up.
yes. So I said self-esteem, communication, and self-management. Yeah.
Thank you. Actually, like all of you have been pointing out, this is something that applies in equal measure to all of us, I guess. No? But I think the challenge is to find different ways of doing this in the school and with the children. Sajni, what would your choice be?
I think everything is interconnected and related to each other. We need all of those, all, like Timara was saying, all 52 life skills are important. I was thinking of adaptability. Wherever they go, after school, what happens? What next after school? So we are looking at job opportunities. So when you're training them on that level, we are also looking at some parents and some of us also looking at the adults. We don't treat them like adults. We still treat them like kids, although their mental age may be of a 10-year-old or 7, 8-year-old, but their chronological age is 18 and above. So I think we really need to work on the tone of the voice we use on them, refer to them as adults and not children, because the end result, we are looking for job opportunities and getting them into the community and the society by large. So I think, and once you go there, then we have to train them to be adaptable. Adaptability of also being able to work with the so-called typical people, and take it on from there. And then you go on to communication, and then your social skills and the self-esteem. And it's all together. Everything
It comes together. So
everything
you
comes-
would pick adaptability as a very important thing to get children to be able to do.
Right. And I just want to share one example of a music
Very
teacher.
briefly.
Very brief, yeah. A music teacher had come to school, and then she asked me, how should I treat these children? How do I train the children? How do I treat them? So I said, talk to them and train them like the way you would train me. So there is no difference between them. Once you think they are different, then that's where the challenge is. So accept them as your own and just treat them like how you would treat each other.
Okay.
I would like to do that.
Thank you so much. So we have at what you have picked as top skills, but in a way, yes, of course, they are all interrelated. And I think as somebody said in the chat, you need different children need different skills, and depending on the extent of the disability and what exactly it is, or you are differently abled, and therefore what supplement do you need to be able to cross that bridge? I think all of you brought that out beautifully. And Monila has something to show you. A person who recognizes, and as a person, with the disability here was vision, but as a person who was reflective and who took action on what she felt she needed, I think she's going to share a short video clip for all of us to see. Monila?
Sure. And maybe we can, all the speakers can contribute a little towards that question, because one of our audiences has actually asked that question, because you have to be mindful of which disability are you talking about, since, it is such a broad spectrum, and therefore how to exercise that sensitivity. And maybe towards the end, it would be wonderful, and this is like a request from me, if, since all three of you are in a way representative of the community, since you work so much with them, what would be that one message, you think a person with disability would want to give to people, to the able people or to the society? So I'm just giving you all a heads up if you can quickly think of a message towards the end. But meanwhile, as we all spoke about what life skills, young people with disabilities should possess in today's day and age, let's hear from somebody who has a disability and which life skill actually came, to their rescue, which life skill really guided, them in life. So here I'm presenting yeah. Give me a sec. Share sound. Yeah. I hope you all are able to.
I am 100% blind by birth. And therefore, the way I navigate my life and the way the challenges come up to me, these two life skills have been of immense help to me. Talking about grit, so I will interchangeably also use the word determination with grit. I have 3 Ds of my life, and determination is one of them. Whatever I am today, like I am at a corporate high position in the corporate, I am the first blind individual to have done several things, including to have done a bachelor's in management studies, way back 15, 20 years ago. So all that would have been possible only because I had grit. I was determined. When I decided that I have to do this, come what may, I had done it. The other one, adaptability. So just imagine, because I am blind, my eyes are completely, not functional at all. So out of the 5 sensory organs, one is not working. How do I as an individual use my other sensory organs, the other 4 sensory organs, and my other capabilities and skills to navigate the world around and see the world without actually seeing it from my eyes? A normal child would actually see things and understand, or the parents would say that, oh, see that one, that's the sky, those are the stars, that's the spoon, that's black in color. But how do the parents tell me as a blind person? How will they make me understand what does it mean to be wearing a black color dress, or what does it mean to actually have a spoon? So they would make me feel, make me touch, make me smell. So use all the other sensory organs to sort of understand the things around me. So microwaves normally have the touch screen panel, the numbers and the start button, etc. are touch, the feather touch. Now, since I cannot see those numbers, how do I touch? And what do I do? Because I really want to operate the microwave. So one fine day, I was just thinking, and I got adapted to a solution. And here also there is a tint of innovativeness. So what I did was that these bindis, what we put on our forehead, I stuck these bindis onto the microwave against the various numbers and various buttons. And bindis are 2 of different sizes and shapes. So today, if I have to operate the microwave, you know what I do.
Yeah, so that was from Nikita, who works with a bank in Mumbai, and she's she's a manager in the bank. So as you could see that Nivedita has visual impairment. She's born with visual impairment. And that brings me to the question that has come from the audience, if you all could just share, 1 or 2 bits about how to really be sensitive to different kinds of disabilities, because it is such a broad spectrum. And how do you see, really society responding to that? There is one question for Tamira also in the chat. So maybe after this, I'll ask. Yeah. Maybe anybody would like to pick, maybe Sajni, because I briefly heard you also talk about, you brought that perspective when we were earlier discussing how different kinds of disabilities need different kind of support.
Yeah, we worked with different kinds of disabilities, and even with children with autism, children with ADHD, which is attention deficit hyperactive disorder, children in the mild, moderate category of intelligence. And also, I have interacted with children who have severe disability and profound, where they are bedridden, and I've seen mothers taking care of them. It is many times we feel they do not understand. This child whose mother was who is bedridden, and he was non-verbal. He would just have eye contact and he would make sounds as response to whatever the mother was saying. We realized that he understood whoever walked into the room. I had visited the mother one day, and I did not go and say hello to this boy. He was so upset with me and he turned his face away. So then I had to go and sit with him and cajole. So I think any disability, whatever the child is facing, we treat them all equally. We still talk to them. We communicate with them because we think they're not listening, but they are listening. We might think they don't have feelings, but they do have feelings. Even with children with autism, sometimes there was this person with Down syndrome and with autism and ADHD. So when he came to school for admission, the first thing he did was he took the class and he dropped it. And so then the mother was so upset. She was wondering whether we will give admission. But later on, when we spoke to him and we told him, the mother jumped to clear up the place. But then we told the mother to just get back off, and then we asked the child to clean the place. That helped. So and also when you after that, I still kept the glasses around. We still lost a lot of glasses. Many glasses were thrown, many glasses were broken, plates were broken, but we still made him clean. After a year, this boy just stopped touching anything. So do not take away anything from whatever you keep in front of the child. Because if sometimes we give money, and some of the children have this habit of taking things from the table, but still leave it there, and then we teach them not to do some things. So I feel we should treat everybody equally, teach them all the skills, and they learn, and they will just suddenly one day out of the blue, they will tell you what they have learned. Yeah. Does that
I'd
answer
like to
your
also
question?
add
Thank
what
you, Sachini.
Sajini said, because it reminded me of something that I had experienced, which was very similar. When I started working with children with disability, honestly, I came from a background that worked with children at risk. So these are fully able children, but they are children who are at risk for violence, abuse, etc. So I really didn't know much about disability at the start of my career. But I was an art teacher in a school with children with multiple disabilities. So it really worked as an advantage for me because I didn't know that the limitations of a child with cerebral palsy and the limitations of a child with Down syndrome. I didn't know. So I would just go in with this idea that, okay, we're going to paint a mural. And I remember there was a time where there were two children who were 100% dependent kids. They were strapped onto the wheelchair. Cerebral palsy, visually impaired, MR, autistic. So they had like so many disabilities all packed in one child. And you'd think like these children would not respond, etc. The entire teaching staff would say that the minute they would hear me enter the school, right? Like, because he could hear, he knew that the Neera miss has come to school, and he would start like wailing and making sounds. So I knew that he was like, because I would go only once a week. So he would like respond in this really, loud sounds would come out of him, and he would wait for me to go to his class. So the time we were doing murals, while some children were using little paint brushes because it was good for their fine motor, some children were using thicker brushes. There were these bunch of children who couldn't hold anything because they didn't have any gross motor, fine motor skills. So what we did was, the toilet brushes that you get. We took toilet brushes, the commode saaf karne ka brush, and we put bucket mein paint, and we got children who could walk, strap on these brushes onto their wheelchairs, and the kids who were like hyper were running up and down the corridor were taking these children across the wall, and they were painting the wall with their wheelchair with this like toilet brush attached to it, you know. So this is the way you adapt life skills, because the idea was a creative practice, the idea was indulging in the arts, so the idea was to have fun, joy, pleasure, to put your hand in paint. And you typically think that it will be a mess, but the thing is to make joy and have fun with that mess, right? So it just reminded me. So really, thank you, Sajini, for reminding me of this incident and getting the opportunity to share it.
Yeah. The sense I get is that, life skills education is also a great equalizer that way, right? Because, these are skills that everybody needs to possess. And if that mind shift really happens in education, where it becomes more life skills oriented, then that way, all children are coming, to kind of a same level, to a same level, to a level field. I talked about a question that has come for Timira over here, and this was about the mindful infrastructure for disabilities. It's a great idea. How are you taking that idea of change forward? This is asked by Usha Priyesh.
So recently, Usha, I attended this wonderful workshop and a gathering of people who were invited for this by an organization called Point of View, and they're trying to create and work a lot with people with disability. And Point of View is trying to create software which is user friendly for people with disabilities. So it was basically a very nascent, like seeding meeting where we all first discussed what were the challenges for regular people, on like maybe senior citizens. Like, in 5 minutes you have to go to your UPI to fill something, otherwise it gets timed out. These things that, so that was another kind of infrastructure that we're all dealing with, which people with disability find very, very challenging, because either it's too fast or it's so based on visual. So they're trying to create, trying to be part of these forums which are developing designs. So always trying to get somebody who comes from this idea of disability. And the room, it was so beautiful because the room was full of people with different disabilities, telling and brainstorming together, saying what is it that they suffer from and what are the challenges that they, so really hearing it from their mouth, not from able-bodied people only who are working with children, people with disability. So really, I think what is our challenge and our motivation as well is to bring those who have disabilities up and ask them to find the, at least tell us what, so that the design can come from them, because they know best, right? So that's one. And the other thing is, I think I urge more and more people who are coming from the world of disabilities to work with design institutions, because there are so many, because disability education needs to be part of curriculum in design schools. It's appalling that it doesn't exist. It just doesn't exist. Like, any kind of design school needs to have a huge focus on disability and inclusivity, so that they can design keeping product design. Do you know that we don't even know that scissors are so hard to use for left-handed individuals, that you need a different kind of scissor
Yes.
for left-handed. I mean, I got to know this as an adult, and it's really sad that we grow up like this without even knowing that this is a challenge. I mean, as a kid, my mother used to hit my brother's left hand because he was naturally left-handed. She made him a right-handed person. But I understand now why, because the world is so unkind to people who are different. So these are small things that we don't even think about. So if I'm studying at National Institute of Design, I need to do a whole semester on disability so that my product designs are chic, or an architecture course for that matter, right? Yes, Nidhi.
I think Noni, I think that's a wonderful idea, this being a part of any good design institution. I think Noni has something to say. And
Yeah.
actually, Sajni, I heard Sajni saying exactly the same thing. We need to listen to what,
Yeah.
children like and they don't like. Noni?
What Timira just said about design, we had a girl who came who's got cerebral palsy, and she came to school to say she's an adult. She is making garments for people who are physically handicapped and how you can wear it without having to get off of, minimal assistance and buttons and whatever, Velcro. So yeah, you can do, I mean, she's thought of something, so she's become a designer for designing garments for adults or people with disability. So it's quite amazing what people do.
Yeah, and just like what Nikita pointed out in the video, like, she used bindis.
These
Texture.
Just imagine, it's such a flaw in design, the flat screens, which are just feather touch sensitive. They look so great, but they are so difficult to operate, for people who have a disability. So thanks for throwing light on that, all of you. There is one more question over here. I would like to know the amount of support to be given to slow learners. So I think this is more in the context of a learning disability. It is asked by Sangeeta. So if we don't have much of time, but if in few seconds, if any of you want to respond to that, how to really handle slow learners or what approach to take.
If I could, Akshar is an inclusive school where we have many slow learners, and well, it really depends which area it is, and the extra support that is given to them is really by giving them notes, writing, shortening down, abbreviating whatever the textbook is, putting it in point form, giving them remedial classes. It really depends on what. And to be, ICSC and IC have come up with their list just a week ago with concessions to children who have got, whether it's dysgraphia, even children with autism now can, supposing a child has got Asperger's and is giving an exam, can wear headphones so that sound is not bothering and writing a paper. And even to the point that if you need a person to prompt, they are also giving a person to prompt. They've listed a lot. They become, so even boards are now assisting children who are not able to cope up. Even they're willing to give MCQ, so where you have to do long answers, your project can be done in MCQ. They're changing patterns. So there is a lot available outside, yeah. And this, of course, can go on, but we've got time limitation.
Yes.
I could.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Manila, this is a long question from Pallavi.
Yeah.
One part of it I'm just picking. Is there any work on adapting life skills curriculum depending on what the disability is? Has any work been done? Would you know? Any one of you can answer this. Pallavi wants to know, has any work been done on adapting a life skills curriculum based on specific disabilities?
Since we don't have a
I think
lot
we
of
have to
time.
look at
Sanjeev?
like IIC or something which has scholarly work. I think that is something that one has to look towards. So Pallavi can look towards academic, scholarship that's adding new knowledge to this world. So typically institutions that work with disabilities would have PhD scholars who are, doing work. But at the top of my head, no, I don't have any access.
It's how you adapt your infrastructure. There doesn't necessarily have to be a curriculum. It's how teachers can adapt it. It's how the infrastructure, how the physical, structure of a school to the teacher. It's all about us educationists. There is, at least I feel very, that we have to adapt we are educationists. We are, if we are teachers, we can teach anybody and everybody. And we have to adapt our system to suit. So, yes, there are curriculums which may not be spelled out, but whichever institution the child is in, I just hope that people are sensitive to that child's, I wouldn't call it a problem, but just adapt themselves to. I mean, quickly say, In Akshar, we never had a lift for the first, I don't know how many years. But a child in a wheelchair, he couldn't go up, he kept growing up and he couldn't be carried up on his wheelchair. So the classroom kept coming down. This is curriculum. I'm not talking about curriculum, but I'm
Infrastructure.
talking about how the class, and finally when we got the lift, he was in class 9 and he says, "Ma'am, I've never seen the school." So the first ride on the lift was him. We said, "You will see the school. Go up and down, see the library." Otherwise, the library was brought down to him. Books were brought down for him. Sports was played on the ground floor. So it's just a mindset. That's it.
I think on that wonderful note, we would like to wrap today's session. So on behalf of TTF, I would like to thank Noni, Timira, Sajni for, making time and sharing their wonderful experience of working with young people with disabilities. Thank you so much, Ratan, for moderating this discussion.
My pleasure meeting these three wonderful people. Manila, just one thing to add. If anyone in the audience, and I hope it's okay with the three of you, if anybody wants, special information, or if they want to be, if any of you want to be in touch with Sajni, Timira, or Noni for further inputs or anything like that, you can.
You can
you
get
have
in
our
touch
TT
with
Foundation.
TTF. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
And
Feel free
we
to.
can,
Yeah.
I hope that's okay with the three of you. And we'll put you directly in touch with them.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you
you
so
so
much.
much.
Yes.
It was
Thank you
really
so much
lovely having you.
Yeah. To all of you who attended today's webinar, do follow us on YouTube, on Twitter, on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram. We have one more webinar coming up in June. So keep track. And yes, do drop in messages on chat box about how you're feeling. If there are questions, if there are people you want to get in touch with, do feel free to do that. Yeah, take care and have a good evening.
We've 91 of you have attended this webinar today. Thank you all so much. And it's really a wonderful feeling to know that, so many people, it's a collective kind of thing that so many people have participated today. Thank you very much.
My colleague will be, Ashutosh will be posting a message about feedback form. Please give your feedback to us. Do fill the feedback form. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Monila, and thank you, Ratan.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks.